You recognize your unending true nature. There's where you get the descriptions of what is, the acceptance of what is, the being with what is. And it's not transactional at that point, it's just what is. It's just a falling in love with what is. And so meditation starts out transactional, but as there's a thinning of the seat of the identity, and it's sort of a thinning back, the veils pulling, being pulled back to reveal the fundamental nature of whom what we are. It gets less and less transactional, less and less doing, more and more being. And the meditation techniques get that way as well. The questions get that way as well. All of life starts to become more and more about about being rather than doing. But all the doing, all the transaction, all of that, it's not wrong. It's just we have to see it for what it is. We have to see where it's coming from, what level at which life is being lived. And we don't have to regret that. We can then just appreciate where we are starting to find ourselves, where the gravity of where we're starting to find ourselves is now. I think you weren't here earlier in the retreat, but I was talking about that recrimination is never a good thing. This thing of regret, this thing of I should have done better, I could have done better. Recrimination is never going to get you anywhere other than more into the mind that is judging and telling you, oh, I should have done better. And so I would, instead of recrimination, you can use discernment. You can use recognition and wisdom to see clearly, okay, this is where this was coming from. It's not a recriminatory place, but it is a recognition place of, that is why there was a transaction there. It's not, I wasn't failing or bad. There's nothing to feel guilty for. It's just, that's the level in which that was. It wasn't wrong. It's just a stage. It's just a level. It's just a way of being in that moment. Couldn't have been any other way. And yet now I find myself somewhere else. And that also couldn't be any other way. We are all perfectly where we must be. Because it's not our doing anyway. It's living through us, sure. It's happening to us, sure. But on a deep fundamental level, it is just the play of consciousness. You obviously had to live through that transactional to see clearly that it is transactional.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. It's all a doing, it's all a transaction until it's seen that none of it's a doing, none of it's a transaction. And to speak to meditation, this idea of the meditation being with. For a while, it feels like there's a set formal time of that's what's happening. I go, I sit with my eyes closed and I fall in love with the being with. But eventually, all of life becomes a meditation as well. There is no in and out of meditation. Yes, there can be a description of the eyes closed and or quiet for a moment. But this moment is just as much of that meditation as with the eyes closed in silence. So this is where the being with is not just in the enjoyment of the being with in terms of the unmanifest, the absolute, but then there is the enjoyment of the being with on all levels as well. But yeah, it's very charming to sit in the splendor of nothingness.